welcome back to the Solitary Practice Podcast. If you're listening today for the first time, thanks for joining us. And for all the returning listeners, welcome back. So today I'm going to tackle kitchen magic, kitchen witchery, whatever you want to call it. I'm sure it's got a lot of very popular names that it goes by. But I'm going to talk about it in the way that I use it, not in the way that is necessarily alluded to out in the, main part of the world. I will tell you right up front that I tamper with pretty much everything food-wise that comes out of my kitchen. Kitchens hold a special place here. It is a very specific and traditional role for who's running the kitchen, and generally whoever runs the kitchen also runs the house. There are certain things that are expected of women versus men, and I could get into all of that kind of crazy stuff, but we're just going to start out kind of simple. If you want to affect your life in some way using magic, I'm a strong advocate for lower magic, not higher magic. I know higher magic can be very flashy. It can feel very big and secure and important, especially if you get into like ritual with lots of steps and ingredients and protocols and chants and all that fun stuff. That stuff can feel really great, but I find you get a bigger bang for your buck using the less flashy, probably not so attractive or trendy, I guess, low magic. You can go undetected with it. There's so much more you can do with it, and you get a greater bang for your buck because 9 times out of 10, if you're doing it right, it is wildly efficient. It has minimal cost to you and maximum effect. If you want to change, something about your life, anything about your life, you have to work with what you have. And I'm not trying to be mean, but most practitioners are either struggling because their magic is not super effective and they want it to be, or they're just getting started and they don't know a whole lot. Their confidence is usually kind of wonky, and they're looking for guidance, and they're looking for somebody to tell them what to do, when really the only person who can tell you what to do is you, because you have to take stock of what you're working with. What do you have? What's on hand? What is your situation? And you have to take that situation and make it work for you. And sometimes that requires a little ingenuity, and it's not flashy. Again, it's probably low magic. It's probably simple stuff. I would rather do simple magic all day, every day, and let's be honest, that's what I do, than any of the higher stuff. That's playtime, for lack of a better word. That is academic amusement. That's like, academic research. I'd rather pay the bills kind of thing. You're going to get further if you could pay those bills, and then you might have time for academic research. So work with the low magic, not necessarily shoot for the high magic. High magic, don't get me wrong. When you're in this big ritual and everything, it can feel very fancy, and it can make you feel very good. It can also make you feel very bad, depending on how you're doing it, but it'll make you feel like a practitioner, but you are not going to get the bang for your buck that you're going to get if you just churn out low-level magic on a daily basis and basically rework your entire life. So a huge advocate, obviously, for lower magic. I have nothing against the higher magic. If you've got time, you've got inclination, and your life is so good that you have time to play with it, go for it. I won't tell you that I've never tinkered with it when I had some downtime. But by and large, when I work every day, and I'm feeding this into everything I do, I am not doing some kind of, again, there's no ritual, there's no prep, none of that stuff. I am using what I have on hand, and I'm making it work for me. Now, it takes some thought adjustment and getting used to, but you can do it. One of the things that probably is a unpopular way of thinking, but for me, it just kind of is, it's the glue that cements that this is a good plan together for me, is that if people are receptive to what you're giving them, and you've magically enhanced it in some way, that magic is going to work a little better. If they're resistive and you try to push that magic onto them, it's probably not going to stick as well as you'd like, or work as well as you'd like, whatever you want to call it. So you want people happy to receive it, and it would be ideal if eventually they started seeking it out. So here, I do a lot of kitchen magic. And again, not flashy, not sexy, not fancy, but every day, all day long, I'm in the kitchen. Let's just take today, because I was thinking about this morning. We have people here, obviously. It's a farm. We've established that. When you are working on a farm, you're burning a tremendous amount of calories, particularly in cold months or hard weather or periods of heavy activity. You burn a lot of calories. You're getting a ton of exercise. The food needs to keep up with that. The other thing to keep in mind is people stop by. So often you're feeding more than just your normal family. There's hospitality rules that I will not bore you with here, but there are a number of hospitality rules if somebody stops by, and you don't have to. I have to be prepared to administer to those rules should anybody stop by. So long story short, I've got to produce a lot of food. So we're just going to run you through what like today looked like. I got up first one up in the morning, and the first thing I did was fry down a pound of sausage and get that cooked to a fine crumble. Turn that off, went and did barn chores, came back in. From there, I made by hand, I have a recipe for it, about 30 biscuits. They're about 3 inches. Think like Grands, like if you're familiar with those Grand biscuit like that, they come out like that. They're real flaky. So I made like 30 of those. Took that sausage, turned that sausage into sausage gravy. I should note that this is from the pig that got dropped off on my doorstep on Christmas Eve. We're still eating on this pig. We will be eating this pork for like a long time to come. Sausage is excellent though. So anyway, right now everybody's on a sausage gravy kick. So I am churning out unbelievable amounts of sausage gravy, biscuits. We had omelets this morning, so eggs, cheese, ham, mushrooms, peppers, onions. We had tomatoes. I had some fresh tomatoes. I diced them up as well. We did a pound of bacon. Trying to think what. Oh, and then we can all of our own jellies. We've got honey from our bees, so all of that stuff is on the table. That was breakfast for four. Four of us ate this morning. I had enough to feed up to 7 because there was a chance I could have to feed up to 7, but that was for 4. And that is considered a light breakfast. That's not even like a quote unquote real breakfast. That's just like a light breakfast because not many people were eating. Yeah, so that was the start. From there, while everybody's eating, I am now prepping the lunch. On the weekends, and this is a weekend, so you're going to get the weekend lunch. On the weekends, everybody's home, but everybody is busy. We have work and stuff going on. So it is usually fresh bread. So I have bread proofing. And then from there, I'm going to do either a soup or a stew. Today it was chicken pastina, big stock pot, tons of chicken and, the little tiny stars. Everybody's on a pastina kick. I don't know. They get like this once in a while. But it could also be a stew of some sort, beef, venison, what have you. We don't usually do chilies as a lunchtime thing unless there's a Johnny cake involved. But long story short, today was a giant stock of chicken pastina. It's probably about 8 quarts. Once I got that pretty much started, that moves over to the hearth and it boils there all day. Basically, I just leave it on there and it just goes. The bread comes out of the oven, bread gets wrapped, cooled, wrapped in a towel. We have fresh butter. And then depending on when they're hungry and what's going on with everybody's work, people will come in and out all day. They're getting crocks of soup. They're getting bread. They are extremely obsessed with fresh homemade bread. That seems to make sense to me. I don't know if it makes sense to anybody else, but yeah, fresh bread is big here. And so, I went through 2 loaves of fresh bread today. And then from there, we're prepping for dinner. Usually dinners here are a vegetable potato gravy meat kind of thing. That's usually some variation of that is usually the dinner around here. Today it was roast beef. And so we had, the large beef, and I have to prep that and season it. Occasionally we do prime ribs. And then, prepping potatoes and all of that stuff. And then from there, because we have people here with sweet tooths that are completely unrivaled, it's flourless chocolate cake. We had some cupcakes. I did a batch of chocolate chip cookies because they're just kind of easy to do. I'm trying to think if there was anything. Oh, homemade granola. I made a whole thing of homemade granola and then prep cooked for the entire week. And that was all pretty much strung out through the day. The breakfast lunch thing I had done pretty early on. And then it was just, set up for dinner and didn't really have to do anything with that to the afternoon, which gives me a chunk of time in the middle of the day to go tackle whatever it is I have to tackle. But the point to all this is, as I am doing all of that, I am tampering with all of it. Now, all of my utensils are specifically chosen for their roles. We're going to say roles. I don't even want to say job. It's just kind of their role, I guess. So there used to be a guy here in town. He used to hand make kitchen implements. So he would hand carve like all of your spatulas and ladles and I don't know, any little kitchen doodad implement. He would hand carve them out of various woods around here. I have slowly accumulated quite a collection. He's gone now, but I have quite the collection. And I love those things. They are all just a tiny bit wonky, but they have so much personality. And then I have a lot of stone. I like stone implements. I have glass, and I have a lot of his. He used to turn wood bowls and make cutting boards and all of that stuff. A rolling pin. I have a rolling pin that he made. I have a lot of local wood that's been turned into kitchen implements, and then I have, my glass and my stone, and then probably the keynote for my kitchen collection is I have pots and pans that have been being passed down from person to person, and I honestly don't know how old some of these things are. But they've been in the family forever. I can remember being small and my grandmother using them and them looking like, they were antiques. At that point, you can go to any museum or antique store and find the stuff that I use day to day, the equivalent of it, out there. But these have been handed down. They're very familiar with the farm. They have seen all the things. They know all the people. And they've had time to get that patina of here-ness that makes them very prone to being agreeable to doing whatever I want. So today's theme was just basically trying to keep everybody kind of content. I've been getting my way a lot. I normally do. I'm going to be real upfront about this. I have, in the last 6 months, been absolutely obscenely spoiled because I'm getting like everything that I decide that I like and I want it that way. That is just how it's going. I'm not actually actively working toward it. It's just kind of working out for me, which is great. It probably won't always be like that, but I'm going to embrace it while I've got it. So things have been going kind of smoothly. Nobody is having like an active emotional crisis right now of some form, which is a little suspicious, but I'm going to embrace it. And so today, I've just basically was feeding contentment into everything. Feeding it into breakfast, feeding it into the soup on the stove for lunch. Dinner, I kind of wanted that full sleepy feeling after you have like a super meal. And then basically, I'm going to say anti-anxiety about the week ahead. Like, I don't want anybody worrying about next week. I want everybody just kind of happy, relax, a little sleepy, enjoy the rest of their evening, go to bed, get a good night's sleep, that kind of thing. I am not actively trying to make somebody happy or sad or like, I would not use food to wildly renovate anybody's emotional state. But again, these meals are all like family style. So everybody's eating the same stuff. So whatever you do to it, you've got to make sure you want it for everybody, as opposed to like pinpointing somebody's particular emotional upheaval. I have other things in my kitchen for that. I don't need to do it through the food. The food is just generally to convey wellness. Like when there is a thing where everybody's just kind of like sick, yes, I am 100% tampering with the food to try to basically make everybody feel a little bit better, alleviate symptoms or what have you. I regularly tamper with the food. If anybody is out there thinking that I, add specific herbs to it or, cook in a particular, no, nope, nope, nope. We have traditional dishes. We have like things that people expect normally that we would eat. that they have been eating these things long since before I got here. So all I'm doing is taking whatever you're cooking with and just kind of energetically tampering with it. I don't know how else to say it. I'm energetically tampering with it. If we think about everything being interconnected and everything is everything else, then it follows that everything is in everything. And if you know how to tease it out, you can get anything from anything. You just have to kind of know how to make it happen. And that was probably a very poor explanation of it, but essentially, whatever I'm trying to pull out, I will pull out of the ingredients in whatever I'm cooking. You just kind of got to let your brain be a little agile with how you're making that work. The other thing I will do is I guess we're going to call it, actively put my own thoughts into it. So if I am trying to, I don't know, let's stick with contentment. If I'm going to actively try to make everybody content, I am going to summon up contentment within myself, and I am going to alter my personal state to one of extreme contentment. And then as I am, I don't know, stirring the soup or whatever, kneading the bread, turning the butter, I am going to bleed that into what I'm doing. It's a very personal touch, and you should be able to do it. Like, I don't understand why people wouldn't be able to do it, but you should be able to do it. I know sometimes people say, don't blend your personal energy into it. And I am, but I'm also not. I don't use my personal energy for pretty much anything unless I actively choose to. I have my own access to energy that has been kind of, what do you say, refined and filtered. And I will tap into that, pull that into me, transform that into whatever, let's say the contentment, and then bleed that back out into the food of whatever I'm making. And I'm using the bleed it out kind of intentionally here because it is like a slow bleed. It's not like we're making a splash here. We're not throwing the contentment at it. Again, it's contentment that's kind of the anti-energy of contentment. Don't toss it anywhere. If it's contentment, it's kind of got like a slow, lazy seep to it. And it's just gonna dribble on down in there, and it's going to take root. And of course, I've already tampered with the ingredients to make it want to, I don't know, cling on to that contentment and take it with it. Then if people are happy, they're coming in and they're just like, oh, good lunch, and they happily accept that soup and they eat that soup. They have that warm piece of bread with the melty butter, because again, magic's going to go path of least resistance, so you want it to be path of least resistance. So if everybody is happy to have that, they appreciate somebody made them a hot lunch, it was there for them, somebody's going to clean up after them. I don't know about you, but I love that. And people do seem to love that. They're sitting inside, it is warm, they're cold from being outside, and they're getting a hot meal. They have tasty, fresh, yeasty bread with butter dripping on it, and like all is right in the world for 10 minutes. It doesn't matter if the tractor's broke down or there's an animal on the lamb. For 10 minutes out of their day, there's somebody there who is just making everything, I guess, right in the world, so to speak. And you've got a nice meal, and that is its own form of contentment. And so the contentment that I've just put in all that food kind of like calls to like, so it will kind of latch onto it, and it just amplifies from there. It's a nice subtle amplification. And then when they go back out, yes, whatever was wrong, but like there's a new sense of optimism, and away they go, and they go back to their day, and I run clean up. And that's kind of how it works. That was probably not the most refined example. If you're looking for refined examples, you are on the wrong podcast. That's for sure. I'm going with the day-to-day stuff. So now I think I'm going to hop over and talk about my kitchen design. Now, obviously, you've got to work with what you've got. I did not design my house. My house was, like, the design was already pre-done when I got here. However, when I selected this house, one of the key things I looked at immediately was the kitchen. honestly, the kitchen was the key to the whole house. But again, the kitchen runs the whole house, so it must be right. Lots of cabinets, and I am a big fan of triangles. If you're into triangles, power, and all that stuff, you know where I'm going with triangles, but I like triangles. I find triangles to be very handy magically. And this particular kitchen is actually a very large area. It actually kind of combines 3 rooms in a triangular way with a large hearth, a very central island. It's very large. It is, I guess, well designed for magical activity, or at least my kind of magical activity. I can kind of captain that ship from any point, great visibility, and it's just set up to lend itself to magical activity. And I have spent years and years and years working on that magical, I don't even know what we want to call it, but basically the entire area has like a feel to it, a magical feel to it now. And I don't mean that it feels magical when you walk in, but I can shift the atmosphere to be what I want it to be. I guess maybe that might be the better way to put it. I have spent time making that section of the house so very mine that it takes very little to shift the atmosphere in it. Now, you have word of warning, if your attitude shifts, the whole atmosphere in that area is all going to shift. So, word of the wise, don't get irritated because people are going to get very disturbed very quickly. But by and large, that particular area has become the hub for not only my family, but for surrounding families as well. It is a very popular area for coffee nights. And basically what that means is neighbors from all over come here. There are finger foods and everything, and they will circulate in those 3 areas and visit and everything. And honestly, getting them out of there is kind of a problem because the sensation of being in there is very welcoming and comfortable. And people like to go where it's comfortable. They don't like being uncomfortable. They don't like being out of sorts. They don't like being stressed out. They want a level of comfort. So when they find that level of comfort, getting them out of it can be problematic. I mean, obviously not too bad. They do eventually go home, but sometimes they linger. But yeah, so I've spent a great deal of time making that particular area very comfortable. It is not unusual to have that front door fly open and somebody come trucking on into the house. Usually, by the time they hit the first section of that large room, they are usually, and I'm doing the little mouth running thing, but they're talking or yelling. Sometimes they're yelling, basically ranting about whatever has upset them. But they will come here if it disturbs them in any way because it's comfortable there. And it is largely expected that I will be in that section of the house if I'm in the house. They do not, like, they've got an aversion to the workroom, which is fine. I don't want to change that. But they really truly expect me to be in that kitchen area. And some of that is traditionalist role, women in the kitchen, you know how that goes. But a lot of it is that's the comfort spot. And historically, if you have a problem and you go to the comfort spot and then your problem gets fixed and you feel better, the next time something goes wrong, you're going to go back there again. Well, now I've got lots of people going in and out of there. So you can alter the general atmosphere of your kitchen. And I'm using kitchen, but maybe you like the living room, or, you have a den or something, or maybe you want them in your workroom, whatever works for you. But you can alter those things. And if you do it, again, it's low magic. It isn't fancy. It's a small thing you do consistently over time that reaps results. And right now, my results are that if anybody gets uncomfortable, they end up in that kitchen area and they're looking for a fix. It also gives me access to assist them if I choose to, because they're already looking for the fix. They've come there because they want that fix. So it makes them a little more prone to accepting the fix. Whatever that fix is, if I'm feeling inclined. Sometimes I am not feeling inclined, and I will lend an ear, but I'm not fixing their problems. All right, so again, I guess I'll just kind of recap this. I find low magic is much more effective than high magic. Done well, kitchen witchery can pretty much fix 90% of your problems. You can alter all sorts of things from your kitchen, if that's the room you're using, you could use any room if you want. I'm just using the kitchen as an example. It becomes like a little bit of a seat of power if you establish it that way. You need to set yourself up for success. You need to use what you've got. So yes, I'm using secondhand pots and pans. They're probably more like fifth-hand pots and pans, but same difference. It does not have to be new. It does not have to be fancy. If you're thinking that I cleansed any of that stuff when I got it, you are wrong. I'm not a big cleanser. I like the energetic patina on like a lot of my stuff. So I don't really take it away. The other thing is again, if I picked up a spoon or a pot because I like it, why would I strip it of the stuff? The reason I picked it up is because I like it, because the energy jives. I would not be very wise if I turned around and stripped that energy off it. There's usually a reason for that. The other thing is I don't want to rob it of its personality. If you've been in your kitchens and you worked in your kitchens, you know that certain pans have certain personalities, and I'm not looking to remove that. I'm looking to get that to work for me. If the first thing you do is basically a lobotomy on your frying pan, you have given that frying pan zero reasons to work for you. Just try to avoid it. Don't do that. Bad, 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 bad. I don't know. I think it's bad. I don't know. Maybe it works for everybody else. Maybe they really need to cleanse their frying pan. Although if you really want to cleanse it, just put it in a sink of hot water and wash it. Hand wash it. Do not throw it in the dishwasher. They got me a dishwasher a few years ago. I hate the thing, and I will probably get rid of it as soon as humanly possible. I prefer to hand wash my dishes because, again, water, doing things by hand, that personal touch. If you want magic to work for you, you can't be afraid to get your hands in there and get dirty or clean, as the situation demands. But yeah, so you can alter your space, you can control your environment, you can make it work for you. Do I love when people come flying in my door at 6 a.m.? No, it is 6 a.m. Nobody wants anybody else's problems at 6 a.m. But it's a good opportunity to learn to work under pressure, doing things that you don't want to do, because let's be honest, we all do things we don't want to do. And B, it's a chance to, curry up some favor. Use that strategically. Again, this is something that is in like my environment that I could make work for me. I could make it work against me, or I could leave it neutral. And you've got to look at like every situation and decide, positive, negative, neutral. And even saying positive, negative, neutral, I kind of cringe a little bit because, what is positive? What is negative? What is neutral? It's very subjective. It is very personal. You have to use your judgment. Judgment can either make you or break you. If you're using poor judgment, you aren't going to get far. I don't care what you do in your kitchen. All right, this has been kind of a crazy ramble about kitchen witchery. I personally advocate for it. I know of some people who are not super fond of it and kind of chuckle about it. I think any form of magic is as effective as you are innovative and capable of using it. So maybe kitchen witchery doesn't work for some people. Works absolutely fantastic for me. I think it's largely situational. But anyway, I will stop there for today. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with others. If you have any questions or maybe a topic you'd like to hear more about, you can contact me through my website, thesolitarypractice.com, where you'll have an option to send me an email or leave a brief voice message. I appreciate the feedback that I have received. I know I haven't got to it all yet, but I do listen to it and read it, and I appreciate it. So thanks again, and I'll see you next week.